The meeting of the Development Committee to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Member Krajewski?
Here.
Member Colbert? Here. Member Garcia?
Here.
Member Ozog?
Here.
Member Rutledge?
Here.
Chair Tornatori?
Okay. As I just found out I was going to be chairman, I don't have any remarks. I am going to be sitting in for Chairman Tornatori. Is there any public comment for today?
No.
No? Perfect. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 Development Committee?
Second.
Moved in second. All ayes or how?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All I thought you were gonna say all eyes on me.
All ayes.
Sorry.
All right, let's go to regulatory services. I am looking for a motion for DCR 0394.
Approval of minutes.
We
did.
Yeah, we did. What did we?
Okay.
We all said aye.
That's okay. Okay, looking for approval of DCR 039421 resolution revision to personnel headcount for building and zoning department.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Questions or comments somewhere in there maybe?
Yeah, maybe. So many meetings today. Okay, looking for item B, DC 007721 ordinance Z21013A for 8 South 220 College Road LLC. The zoning hearing officer has recommended to bifurcate the following zoning relief. This was for the approval of the variation to allow detached accessory building and existing barn to remain in front of the front wall of the house. Paul, did you want to give any information on this?
Yes, very briefly. There was a zoning case, and the zoning hearing officers recommended approval for one of the variation requests. That's to allow the existing barn to remain in front of the front wall of a new house that's being built on a new lot. And he's also recommended to deny the variation to have a gravel driveway as opposed to a hard surface driveway. So to make it as clean as possible, he's elected to bifurcate the two cases and list them as A and B, so you can vote on them independently.
So is there an agenda item for the concrete driveway
Yes,
today?
that's the second one.
Okay.
Second one, yes.
Is the gravel driveway there now?
No, it was a existing single family lot that had a house along College, and they divided the property into 2 lots. And the second lot is called a flag lot. It looks like a flag and a flagpole. So the new owner of the flag lot is putting up a new house, and he wants to access the house from College with a gravel driveway.
Which is better than for stormwater?
This is purely for financial reasons in this case. There's no stormwater issue here.
Oh, but it's just a gravel driveway is better for stormwater.
Not necessarily. A gravel driveway is treated like a hard surface for stormwater as well. They don't treat it's still considered non-pervious surface.
So what disadvantages does it have to have gravel as opposed to hard surface?
Well, the zoning hearing officer found that this was purely financial, and the neighbors who were adjacent to it were concerned that there was going to be a lot of dusting, a lot of rutting, a lot of water sitting in the rutting areas. When the property owner, when you get to the main portion of the lot, the property owner is going to turn that portion of the driveway into a hard surface driveway for his benefit. But he wanted to have a gravel driveway for cost reduction. That's the only reason he's doing it.
Is it prohibited though in corporate county areas, the gravel driveways?
We require hard surface, gravel or concrete, asphalt, or brick pavement. We don't allow for gravel driveways.
And what about old ones that are there?
Those are grandfathered in,
Grandfathered in.
conforming, yeah. And once again, the issues with gravel driveways, this particular gravel driveway is just going to be straight, typical gravel. The other gravel driveways that we've seen where they've asked for zoning relief, those are pea gravel driveways. So they're a little bit more decorative and they provide a little more of a stormwater benefit. In this case, the concern was the driveway is going to be immediately adjacent to 2 existing residential properties on the north, and there was going to be dust, there was going to be rutting, there could potentially be a place for water to sit in the rutting and mosquito to accumulate in those ruts. Very, very long driveway that was only serving to reduce the cost for this person, no other benefit.
I grew up on a gravel driveway. Good call. I mean, a gravel street.
I mean, there is a gravel there, but it's for construction only, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion to approve in a second.
Second.
Now, any questions other than that?
We're
Okay.
still on the B item, correct?
We're still on the
Right,
B
we got that
item,
right.
and of course, we motion in the affirmative, so remind members that we have to,
It was affirmative.
It is affirmative.
oh, that's what
Next.
next one. So, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Now we're on to the second one, which is, of course, the DC 007-821 ordinance, Z28013B, also for 8S220.
I move to allow the gravel driveway.
So
LLC.
that would be a nay, right?
Well, we're
That
still
would be-
motioning.
He's still
and seconding.
motioning just to get it on.
Second.
So, we have a motion,
I did. I motioned.
second,
Second,
okay.
Time.
Okay, any questions on this?
Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So if he did pea gravel, Paul, would that be more acceptable from a variance aspect?
It could, it's more attractive, there's less dusting with pea gravel, but the petitioner wanted just a gravel driveway for cost purposes only. Pea gravel would cost a little bit more. Having said that, he didn't raise that at public hearing. And
Okay.
we've had several iterations of this public hearing. He's had 3 chances at this, and it's always been the same straight gravel driveway.
Gotcha, okay.
And finances are not a hardship, so.
So quick question, I vote would be agreeing with the ZBA
No,
recommendation to deny?
no.
And I vote would be to allow the gravel driveway.
And I vote would be allowed, okay, got it.
So, any ayes? Any nays?
Nay.
Nays have it, the motion has been denied. Moving on to D, DC 007-921, ordinance Z21-037, Chicago Title Land Trust. The zoning hearing officer recommended to deny the following zoning relief variation to increase the height of a detached accessory building, detached garage, from 15 feet to approximately 18 feet.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. So any questions on this?
Again, Paul, what the 3 feet, what's the difference?
Um,
What's the issue why it was denied?
The petitioner, it's a little complicated. The petitioner indicated that at some point in the future, he may take his existing attached garage and convert it to living space. And if he ever did that, then he would need more room in this detached garage, and he would need more of the height. Because the concept was prospective, there's nothing to say he will ever remove his attached garage. And there was really no other hardship or practical difficulty as to why he needed something higher. The ZHO felt that there was no demonstration of proof. In many instances, we see that a petitioner wants to create an architectural feature that is consistent with his house. We didn't hear any of that here. So there was just no demonstration.
And they only allow 15 is a,
15 feet on this size property,
and how do they measure it?
from the average grade to the top of peak of the.
So the peak to the average grade?
And they only allow, correct me if I'm wrong, they only allow one garage, correct?
No, we allow multiple detached accessory buildings on the property so long as you stay within the square footage. So you could have, if you're entitled to have, for instance, 650 square footage on this size lot, you could have multiple detached
Okay.
buildings, provided that the cumulative size, it doesn't exceed 650.
Okay, perfect.
And that allows, for instance, someone to have a detached garage and maybe a shed on their property.
Okay.
Or sometimes you have to tear the shed down.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. All right, so we've got a motion, a second. Remember, a motion on this is to actually allow the garage to have the variation. Any ayes? Any nays?
Nay.
Okay, nays have it. Motion's been denied. Going on to item number E, DC 008-021, ordinance Z21-042, Keller. The zoning hearing officer recommended to deny the following zoning relief: variation to allow a recreational trailer in front of the front wall of the house, variation to allow a reduced required front yard setback for a recreational trailer from 30 feet to 3 feet. Motion, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? None? All in favor? Any nays?
Nay.
Motion has been denied. Item F, DC 081 21, ordinance Z 21048, Garden Avenue Tattoo. The zoning board of appeals recommended to approve the following zoning relief. Conditional use to use the property as a tattoo studio pursuant to DuPage code 37-802.2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? It's been approved. Item number G, DC 00082-21, ordinance Z 21-061. The zoning hearing officer recommended to deny the following zoning relief. A variation to reduce the corner side yard setback from 30 feet to approximately 17 feet for a new detached garage. And 2, variation to increase the total size of a detached accessory building from permitted 650 square feet to approximately 896 square feet. Have a motion to
So moved.
Second.
second, and questions? Member Kohler.
Yes, what I want to know is, I understand the increase from 650 to 896, but my question is, I didn't see any issues with this. Nobody had objections. None of the neighbors had any objections. By having a garage separately, I think of that as a unique circumstance, and maybe a financial hardship because this person has to store his antique car somewhere else and pay for costs elsewhere. So my question is, if we do grant the variation, is it encroaching upon the other neighbors' yards or the road, or what? Is it creating any type of harm?
Well, the major concern was that because this is at the intersection of Aurora and the main street that the property owner's on, that's a line of sight issue, and it's they're putting the garage very close to the major thoroughfare, which is a collector roadway, and that was the main concern. There were other concerns about the notion that this was more for financial reasons, to be able to store this vehicle on site as opposed to someplace else. But the real key issue here is the location of this garage relative to the corner, and potentially creating a line of sight issue for all the traffic that comes out from this road to the main road on Aurora.
What do you mean by line of sight issue?
There's a 30-foot setback from the building setback from the property line to the street. And there was a concern that people queuing up to be able to turn westbound onto the major thoroughfare, this building could get in the way.
Okay,
Because
so
there's
it's a safety issue.
potential safety issue.
Potential safety.
You would not be able to see around the building or some of the landscaping that would be associated with the building. And that's why we have a 30-foot setback where it's a corner lot.
Now, would that be, would the height of that affect the line of sight, or would it be the width of it?
Both.
So if this person reduced the height of it, and just reduced the width a little bit, would this constituent be allowed?
I still think it would be a problem because that whole 30-foot setback is intended to make sure where you're at the intersection of two streets, you've got a good line of sight, nothing in the way for people to be able to see out onto those streets. So having the building there in the corner side, in the 30-foot corner side of your setback, irrespective of the height, it's still going to pose a bit of an issue for people seeing around to get onto that major roadway.
What would be considered a unique circumstance in this case? I mean, he has antique cars, 4 of them, and he needs to keep them close. It creates a financial hardship if he stores it somewhere else. So I'm looking at this as a unique circumstance with the potential of a line of sight issue, but not something that's proven to 100% be a line of sight issue.
Sure. There's other places on his property. He does have a septic field, but there are other places on his property where he could, in theory, put this garage and put the cars in the garage. He chose this because it was more accessible to the road, but there are other places on his property where he could do it. And he didn't show or demonstrate that he couldn't move it to someplace else on his property and still meet the code.
Okay, one last question. Was he presented with that alternative option?
No, we don't present those options to him. He has the ability to present what he wants to the county, and then we react to that, or the zoning hearing officer reacts to that.
Am I allowed to reach out to him and present that option or no?
I would be concerned about an ex parte communication. We want to talk with the state's attorney about that. That's after hearing what the hearing officer said. He certainly has the opportunity to talk with staff and have a discussion about what the concerns are, and then he could look to see if he couldn't relocate it someplace else on the property. If you were to do that, it likely would be in a location on the property that would meet the code, so we wouldn't need any zoning relief anymore. You'd just be in-
And that's fine. This meeting is recorded anyway, so it's open to the public
You
to
would see
hear
that.
what discussion went on in
Right.
here. Thank you.
Member Rosado.
So he's looking, if he was to, he's looking for a 25% increase over what's allowed.
Yeah.
If he was to remove the shed, what I'm hearing is he has numerous options. But the financial element that he wants to do this because it would save him money from storage is not ever considered a hardship or practical difficulty.
Correct. We cannot consider financial issues
Right.
as a hardship or practical difficulty. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I know personally, when I drove by there, it is gonna be a line of sight issue, because you really have a hard time, you've already got a fence there, and it's hard to see around that, and I think the way they wanna put it, it would be a very big safety issue, so.
I just have a general question, Paul, because you had mentioned, thank you, Chair. You said that you never offer alternatives to people. And is that a standard practice? I mean, that you never go, yeah, I know this is what you're asking for. It'll never pass with a variance, but you might consider this.
As part of zoning relief, when it's zoning relief and they've applied for zoning relief, we don't, because at that point, they're asking
Legal opinion.
they're asking the hearing officer and ultimately the county board. As part of staff discussions, we don't necessarily offer advice, but we give them, what the code, we tell them what the code says and where they might have other options. So we have to be
Okay,
very careful about it, telling them, here's where you should put it.
So prior to the zoning.
Right,
Zoning
but
hearing.
once we get into the process and they have decided to go forward with a legal process in terms of public hearing, we don't offer any advice.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better because I think you could employ a full-time person and it would reduce staff time and hearing time. And I just think from a cost-saving measure, if you could have like an ombudsman that could
Member
help
Gajewski?
people with that.
Yeah, just to pick up on that too, but I think we have several of these that would pass if they just did it correctly. I mean, we had that
Yeah.
gentleman the other
Yep.
day that was in here with the shed, and before they submit it to you, because I understand once they submit it now they're in the zoning process, but it seems like we could work with some of these people, especially the ones that come and they don't hire an attorney that does our zoning, and they're trying to do it on themselves. Because that one the other day, he clearly, he just didn't 100% it.
Right.
With that, and then the 650 feet for the garage and multiple structures, sheds, et cetera, is that a strict number, or is that based on size? If I got a 3-acre property and I got a 1 acre, is it still 650 feet?
So what it is that 650 is the allowable square footage for properties that are 40,000 square feet in size or less,
Okay.
basically an acre. If you're 40,000, or if you're over 40,000 square feet, then we have a multiplier, and the multiplier then allows you to have more square footage.
But
based
even
on the size
that,
of
I
your
mean, if you
property.
got a third of an acre, 650 is different than if I got an acre and I'm putting a 650 structure on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, the people who have an acre of land or less actually are getting much more square footage on their property than someone who has more acreage. Because if you take the multiplier times 40,000 square feet, that's where we get the 650 from. And so if you have a piece of property that's 5,000 square feet, you get the same amount of square footage as someone that has 39,900 square feet. So it's the smaller property that is actually enjoying the benefit of that 650. That hasn't been a problem for us. We've never seen that someone with a 5 or 10,000 square foot lot. with
And I haven't
650
been
square
out
feet
with my
is no
tape
problem.
measure, but I swear I've gone through municipalities that on those major intersections that have structures that are less than 30 feet off the setback.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and they talk about site visions. There's a lot of them out there, so I'm not sure 17 feet is, especially on a rural road, not in the county, unincorporated, but in the county, or in the incorporated, there's stuff that's up there, especially in the older sections.
We used to have a setback requirement on the corner of 15 feet because there were issues with that. We actually changed it about 20 years ago to 30 feet. And the reason we changed it is that in some instances, most instances, not all, but in most instances, The corner lot has a property adjacent to it where that property adjacent to it, it's actually their front yard. So we wanted to make sure that the corner side was commensurate with the front yard setback for the property next door. I'm not saying that's the case here, but we did change that, and that seems to work for people. People don't seem to have a lot of problems with having that 30-foot setback. Occasionally we get something like this where they have to ask for zoning relief, and in this particular case, it seems to be more financial than a practical hardship of the property.
Well, everything can be financial.
Right, yeah, I don't know if I think,
I'm not sure I buy it, I mean, because
yeah,
I
I'm with you,
use
Brian.
wood or I use something else, and I think like financially, because everybody looks at finance when they build something. And then the last thing is, how big was this property? Acre wise or square footage wise?
Just real quick, I think it's about, what are we, about 20,000 square feet?
It's 0.55 acres, so
Okay, so half
23,000.
an acre, so it's half.
Yeah.
Member Colbert. Yeah, just last two questions. Well, to piggyback off of what Member Rutledge said and Member Krajewski said about how we can't present options to people who get denied, I was actually wondering if maybe, just like in court, you know, a lot of pro se clients need help and they go to the Bar Association for free legal help. Maybe is it a possibility that they can be recommended to contact the DuPage County Bar Association for a pro bono attorney?
Sure, we can let them know if they're looking for counsel. We can pass that along to them.
Well, I guess,
Good idea.
to pick up on that, I guess, looking at this specific situation here, because what's the last, I mean, is, do you see any facts and circumstances that this would be allowed? I mean, 17 feet, that seems, 30, it seems okay, but I mean, I understand you didn't present the evidence. That's what happens most of the time, these guys don't present the evidence. Because if we send it back, you know,
Yeah, but do we present the evidence of this?
No, the
Would
evidence
definitely
comes
be a
at
line of
zoning.
sight
you
issue.
can't look at anything but what was it.
But how do we know it's gonna be a line of sight issue without any measurements or?
You have the option to send it back
Right,
to the ZHO or the zoning hearing officer or the zoning board of appeals because of these concerns. And that would send a message to the property owner that
If it come back.
he has
with
the
evidence.
opportunity to address some of these concerns that you have. That's certainly an option available.
Can I make that motion to send it back?
You have a motion.
I would second that.
All right,
Yeah.
I make a motion to send this ordinance back to the CPA for reconsideration.
We already had a motion on the table, so I don't know, do we have to just, is this?
We're
I
amending.
think we just amended it.
We amended it.
Okay,
Or just-
and is there a second to that?
I seconded.
Okay, we want to do a roll call vote on that?
Yeah, but I got a question on that, Paul. So that would be a new submittal for him?
It would go back to the zoning board, it'd go back to the zoning hearing officer. And the minutes from this meeting would be presented at that hearing. And then the hearing officer would then set another hearing for the petitioner to present any additional information that he might want to submit based on what he heard here today. And then we'd set up another legal hearing, we send notice out and things like that. But the first iteration would go back directly to the next available zoning hearing officer, and then he'd set another hearing for the petitioner to present.
Okay, so let's do a roll call vote on the amendment to the original motion.
Member Krajewski,
Aye.
Member Colbert.
Aye.
Member Ozark,
Aye.
Member Rutledge,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Garcia.
Aye. So this will be sent back to the zoning hearing officer, and then it will have be brought back to us at a later date, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Great. Good ideas. Is there any old business anyone wants to discuss? Any new business? May I ask for an adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Everybody.